So I think one of the biggest things hindering people's progress when it comes to learning guitar is that they practice very inefficiently. And it's something I see quite a bit as a teacher. And I was thinking about how to make a video in regards to this, whether I should make a list of things you need to think about. Wasn't quite sure how to do it. So I decided that the best idea is probably just going to be if we go through a song and I kind of break it down into all its different sections and we figure out what the best way would be to practice it. And then you can take some of those concepts and apply it to any kind of song you're learning. So the song we're going to be working with is called Hole in My Shoe. And this is a song from the initial grade of the Trinity Rock and Pop curriculum, which I think is a good place to start learning if you're a complete beginner. They're not the best songs in the world, but they're very straightforward and it'll get you playing through some songs from start to finish. But anyway, let's have a look at this. So the first mistake people will make with this, with learning it, is that they just try right off the bat to play it from the beginning to the end. Okay, it's never a good idea to practice a piece of music from start to finish when you're just learning it for the first time. Once you've learned all the individual parts, then you want to piece it together and play it from start to finish. But to begin with, it's a terrible idea because you just won't retain anything. And ideally, you want to memorize the whole song eventually. So what I would do here, so first of all, we have all these twos on the A string. Now, this isn't going to require too much breaking down. You know this. Right, the second fret on the A string, play that 8 times. But this first strumming section that we see here, so we have a G chord, A minor chord, another G chord, and then we have a strumming pattern. Okay, so the first thing I would do if I was teaching this to a student, and the likelihood is if I was teaching this to a student that they would be very new to guitar, so I would really break it right down. First thing is get familiar with the G chord, okay? Because you're not going to be able to go from G to A minor with a strumming pattern, thinking about all these things if you can't play a G chord efficiently. So first thing I would do is just get them to play a G chord, take their hand off, touch their leg just to reset their hand, G, hand off, G, hand off, right? Don't go like this. G, lift your fingers off slightly and put it back down because you're kind of defeating the purpose of the exercise. The exercise is to be able to play a G chord from nothingness, essentially. So I would get them to do that maybe 20, 30 times in the lesson, and I'd also tell them to do that when they're practicing at home. So that's the first step. Just get familiar with that G chord, right? That way you only have to think about one thing. Cool. Then after they do that for a bit, I would tell them to do the exact same thing, but with the A minor chord. Okay, so then A minor, hand off, A minor, hand off, A minor, hand off. And I would get them to do that 20 or 30 times, whatever it takes really, that it starts to become efficient. And something I look out for a lot as a teacher is that all their first movements are correct. So if they're playing this A minor, it's not like they put their first finger down, then they put their third finger in the wrong place and then go to the right place, then middle finger, wrong string, then the right string. I'm looking for it to all just fall into place. Not even at the same time, but just all the first movements are correct. Okay, so once they get their head around that G and A minor chord, and they're pretty familiar with those, then I would get them just to practice changing between the two. So I would go, okay, we're going to go from G to A minor maybe 20 times. So it'd be G, A minor, that's 1 time. G to A minor 2 times, right? And I'd go through that, as I said before, like 20, maybe even 30 times. Because right off the bat, so with just doing that, you will become familiar with that chord change from G to A minor, right? So we broke it down, practice the G chord, practice the A minor chord, practice the G to the A minor chord. And then this is where you would start thinking about the strumming pattern. Okay, so first thing I would do with the strumming pattern is just get them to play a mute note, right? Which is where you just barely cover the strings with your fingers and it makes this kind of percussive sound. And I would get them to just get familiar with the strumming pattern on its own with those mute notes. So the strumming pattern is 1, 2, 3, and 4, which is going down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down, right? So you would probably have to sit with that for a bit, just get familiar with that, down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down, right? So then, once they're familiar with that, once you can do that strumming pattern, then you add it to the chords and we play what's written in the music. So we go G, down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down, then A minor, down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down, and then back to G. Right, down, 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 up, down. And because they're already familiar with the G chord, the A minor chord, the change between the two, and the strumming pattern, it shouldn't be too difficult. But if it is difficult, what I'll do is that metronome exercise that I've talked about in another video that I forgot what I called it, but the thumbnail says something like stop overcomplicating things. I think it was called just how to nail any chord change. So that metronome exercise, in short, it would be you start the metronome at 70 and you would play the first chord and then wait 4 clicks and then play the next chord. So I would go, if I had a metronome on, going 1, 2, then 4 beats, 1, 2, 3, 4, next chord. Right, and you would take that from 70 BPM, get that to 100 with 4 beats in between the chords, and then once you get it to 100, you drop it back down to 70, but then you only have 3 beats in between the chords instead of 4. Get that to 100, back to 70 with 2 beats, get that to 100, back to 70 with 1, right, you see where this is going, up to 100, and then back to 70 with no pauses in between. Right, so this is just a very good way to incrementally and objectively track your progress with these things while doing it to like a musical metric, not just being like, oh, I think I'm faster. But anyway, that's a bit of a tangent. So that would be how I would work on that very first section of the song. Now, if we look at the next part, it's all pretty straightforward. We're just playing 1 on the A string, right? So that wouldn't require too much effort. But then if we go into page 2, we have a few single note runs. Okay, so the thing with this is, again, I would not get them to just play it from start to finish. That would be a terrible way to practice it or terrible way to teach it. I would just go, okay, you can see just visually even that we have kind of 3 phrases here, right? We have this first bar, right? Then we have this third bar over here, and then this bar over here, and then these 2 notes over here for this verse 2 section. So I would just say, okay, we're just going to practice each of those parts on its own. So that first one, 0, 2, 1, 0, 0. So I don't know if I said the right thing there. So 0, 2, 0, 1, 0. Right? And again, get them to do that 10 or 20 times, whatever it takes. Till they can do that just without even thinking about it. And as well, as I was talking about with the chord changes, I'm looking that their first movements are all the right things. So, for example, they don't go 0, 2, and then 0, and then go for the 3, and then realize it's actually 1, right? Or go 0, thinking it's 4, and then they find the 2, then 0, then they go, oh, is it 4, right? So I'm just looking that their first movements are all in the right place, going in the right direction. Right, so I would go through all those three phrases, doing that exact same process, and then I would piece it all together, right? Play that whole section start to finish, once they can do each individual phrase. And then the exact same thing with this instrumental part. You can see there's kind of two little runs you have to worry about. So there's this, from this 3 to this 2 over here, we'd have to do that. On its own, and then again this 3 to that 2, which they're actually the same thing, so kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone. And then you have these chords at the end which you've already practiced if you've gone to this point, the D and the G. So that would be how I would break down the entire song. So I'd focus on the strumming, right, breaking that right down, practicing the G on its own, A minor on its own, practicing a G to an A minor, practice the strum pattern on its own, apply the strum pattern to the chords, right? Then practice all these individual, these phrases individually, right? In this section. And then at this point, this is where you would start thinking about actually playing the song start to finish, okay? So hopefully that was helpful. And again, all these principles, they apply to more complex songs, right? Just breaking each thing down to its most simplest form. adding in variables gradually over time. And you'll be playing through songs fluently, efficiently, and people might actually want to listen to it. So let me know if you have any questions on that, or if you have any song requests that you would like me to break down like this for you. But thanks again for watching, and leave questions in the comments, and I'll see you next time.